who's the highest paid on the roster. He said, Stone Cold Steve Austin. What's his guarantee? He said, $1 million. I want 2. He said, 2 million? I said, yes. Guaranteed? Yes. He said, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to put you in contact with one of our executives, and I need you to take a couple of months, if it takes that long, because I was on the road. He goes, I need you to understand the business. I need you to understand the business, this side of the business, from top to bottom, all the economics.
Oh, wow.
I want you to understand that. I want you to understand our cost, overhead. I want you to look at what's allocated to the board.
What a great thing to do.
I learned to absorb as much as I could about the business. I went back to Vince. I'd like to match it at $1 million, what Steve is getting. He said, how much do you think you're going to make this year? I said, well, if my guarantee is $1 million, I've been averaging about 50% over my guarantee, so maybe 1.5. He went, okay. Now that you've taken yourself through that, now you understand the business, you're going to make $15 million this year.
Every player in the WNBA should be forced to watch this speech from the great one. I know WNBA players and their pretend friends in the mainstream media. I know they are celebrating this supposed historic deal. I know they are pretending like this is some landmark achievement. This is transformational. We have changed the lives of every woman in America. Girl power! Woohoo! Yes, yes, yes. The truth is, WNBA players have actually shortchanged themselves with this deal. And the reason they shortchanged themselves is because they were blinded by guaranteed money, or they didn't believe in themselves. The WNBA was offering them 70% of net revenue. It's kind of similar to what Vince McMahon was offering The Rock back in the late 90s. But unlike the great one, WNBA players, they chose a higher guarantee over a potentially unlimited windfall of profits. But even with that being the case, the fun and games are over. The days of operating as a charity, the days of not being taken seriously, the 3 decades of having no expectations to perform, those days are over. You know, I remember when I was finishing college, it was either my second or maybe it was my third senior year. I was in one of those master's programs where it takes you 6 years to earn a 4-year degree. But as I was finishing college, my dad sat me down and he told me that playtime is over. Up until this point, I have been here to clean up your messes. When you run out of money, you call Dad. When you need new tires, you call Dad. When you have a problem, you call Dad. Now, the proverbial net is being removed. I'll always be here for you. I'll always be here to help where I can, but it is time for you to help yourself. That is exactly what this CBA signifies in the WNBA dump. For the last 30 years, WNBA players have blamed everyone but themselves for their huge embarrassing failure. We're not on national television enough. No one will invest real money in our dump. Our locker room is the porta potty. We have to bring our own water to pretend basketball games because they can't afford running water. With this new collective bargaining agreement, it's like WNBA players are graduating from college and entering the pros. When you're in college, you essentially have a license to be a dumbass. Your questionable behavior, your poor judgment, it can be explained away by your youth. But once you walk off campus and you enter the real world, there are no more excuses. The landlord doesn't care if you lost your job. Power company doesn't care if you're going through hard times. You either step up or you step aside. And with this new collective bargaining agreement, with these new $1 million annual contracts, It is finally time for WNBA players to prove they are worth the money. They've been complaining about it for years, but the time to complain is over. You got everything that you wanted. The question going forward is, are you actually worth it? Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Let's go and get to the sponsor for today's video, Antelope Hill Publishing. As a content creator, one of the primary requirements of my job is reading. I spend a lot of time every day reading, and I think it's important to read a variety of viewpoints to figure out the truth of an issue. Unfortunately, a lot of mainstream book publishers, they provide limited options, or they refuse to publish authors that don't fit their desired narrative. And that is where Antelope Hill Publishing steps in. Antelope Hill is proud to be a free speech publisher that offers a large variety of books that are hard to find in the mainstream. For example, they've got The Transgender Industrial Complex. This book goes into detail exposing the organizations that funded the transgender movement. It explains how they operate and why they focused on promoting their ideology to kids. Another is The American Regime, which was written by a former January 6th prisoner who was pardoned by Donald Trump. It examines the historical and political reasons for modern government tyranny. Antelope Hill Publishing also sources hard-to-find historical books so you can learn about history from original sources. There are countless options available, so click the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Use my promo code BTL10, BTL10. Receive 10% off your first purchase with Antelope Hill Publishing. Headline at Sportico: WNBA season to expand to 52 games over course of the new CBA. Me personally, I don't really understand this. From a financial perspective, I understand why the dump is offering more pretend basketball games that no one really asked for. What I don't understand is why you would dilute your regular season. This is one thing I will give the WNBA credit for, although I don't think the decision to play 40 or 44 games was made by choice. When you have fewer games in the regular season, it makes each game more important. When you add games, it naturally dilutes the value. Don't these leagues understand the value of scarcity? You know why March Madness is special? There are a finite number of games. If you lose, you're out. Same thing in college football. Every week feels important in college football. Every home game feels important because you only get a handful of home games every year. Used to be the same in the NFL, but Roger Goodell, hey, it's me, Roger G! Uncle Roger is doing everything he can to dilute the product by expanding the league. Hell, the NBA is even talking about expansion. They've got half the damn league tanking because they don't have enough talent on the roster to win. And the NBA is wanting to add 2 more teams? The WNBA product is already watered down. There are players in this league who struggle to dribble and walk at the same time. Now they are adding 2 expansion teams and wanting to expand the regular season. There is going to be immense pressure on the WNBA to perform. NBA owners, they were already pressuring Adam Silver for this dump to be profitable 2 years ago. Back then, most WNBA players were making minimum wage. Now, you'll have unknown players in this league making close to $1.5 million a year. Before the ink was even dried on the new CBA, the Las Vegas Anonymous Faces, the WNBA franchise that is known for players who struggle to get recognized at family reunions. Before the ink was dried on the CBA, the Anonymous Faces announced that they were giving AJ Wilson, but my name is Asia!
It doesn't matter what your name is!
They're giving AJ Wilson a supermax contract worth $1.4 million a year, which is great for Asia Wilson, But this is where the WNBA could potentially run into problems. Now, the media will tell you the anonymous faces are one of the biggest draws in the league. They draw 10,000 fans at every home game. Wowzer! That number is huge! While it is true that the anonymous faces are one of the best draws in the league, their ticket prices are the drizzling shits. It doesn't matter how many people are in attendance, it matters how much money you're making. Now, before, when WNBA players were making minimum wage, they just wanted to get people in the building. Now, you've got to justify these exorbitant salaries. Last year, tickets for the anonymous faces in the regular season, they were selling between $10 and $20. Courtside seats were selling for $200. During the WNBA Finals, the chase for the Platinum Pooper, tickets were selling for $40, and the anonymous faces, they were still struggling to sell out games. But KC, the WNBA has their TV deal. It's worth $2.2 billion. Yeah, it's worth $2.2 billion over 11 years, which equates to around $200 million a year. The WNBA, they did not negotiate that deal. This is basically another generous donation from their primary subsidizers in the NBA. For the first time ever, there is real investment in this league. Along with real investment comes real expectations. When you're starting your career and you're working an entry-level position, or maybe you're a teenager working a minimum wage job, your only real expectation is to show up to work on time. Now, once you advance, once you start making real money, once you get maybe into a management position or some other high-level position, one of the reasons they're paying you is because the expectations are significantly higher. The pressure you're dealing with is significantly higher. WNBA players are about to start feeling that pressure. What happens over the next 3 or 4 years, it will determine whether or not these current salaries are sustainable long term. Now you gotta remember, this league has only been in the mainstream for 2 years, and the pretend basketball is not the reason they're in the mainstream. The drama surrounding Caitlin Clark is the reason. Now, is that sustainable? Or is the WNBA built on a gimmick? What happens if WNBA players find another woke cause to protest? What happens if they kneel for the national anthem to protest the war in Iran? When you're making minimum wage, no one cares. When you're making millions, everyone cares. If you don't believe me, ask LeBron James. Have you guys noticed in the last 4 or 5 years, LeBron James hasn't said a damn thing about politics? I wonder why. For years, WNBA players have talked about their worth. They have complained about being underpaid. We're about to find out how valuable WNBA players actually are. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.